Welcome back to another episode of the Tech Talks Daily podcast. I'm your host, Neil C. Hughes, and today I've got a very special guest joining us. His name is Darryl Adams. He's the Director of Accessibility at Intel. And one of the reasons I'm excited about getting him on the podcast today is, as you all know, I love talking about areas that technology is impacting and changing people's lives that you possibly don't automatically associate with technology. When you think of a company like Intel, I don't think you would automatically associate, for example, the difference it's making to children's hearing. Because Intel has been pioneering several innovative projects over the years, and there are so many different examples, such as increasing global access to assistive technology in collaboration with 3DP4Me. They've also been piloting a revolutionary process in Jordan to make hearing aids more affordable, and also simplifying aid to PC integration using things like Bluetooth and LE audio to bridge that compatibility gap. So today I want to learn more about how Intel is at the forefront of ensuring accessibility for all. And in our conversation today, we'll touch upon Intel's personalised approach to audio assistance for those who have trouble with certain frequencies, and also want to hear more about one of their exciting projects called All Ears, which has been designed to recognise critical sounds that the user cares about to provide a visual notification on their screen. So we'll talk about all that, along with Intel's efforts to seamlessly connect hearing aids and computers, and explore the future initiatives that aim to make tech more inclusive and accessible to everyone. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to the US, where Darryl is waiting to talk about all this and much more. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Darryl. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Thanks, Neil, so much for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Darryl Adams, and I'm the Director of Accessibility at Intel. And in my role, I really have two main focus areas. The first being ensuring that Intel is an accessible place to work for our employees with disabilities. So that covers everything from physical, built environment accessibility to digital accessibility, making sure that our employees have the tools and are enabled to do their jobs. And then the second area of focus is really more around accessibility innovation and what Intel's role is in the industry for creating a future of technology that is more inclusive and more accessible for everyone. And that includes really a focus on scaling inclusive research and design practices throughout the company and engaging employees and others with disabilities throughout those processes. And the goal is certainly just to evolve what it means to compute today, what it means to interact with a laptop or a PC, and address the barriers that still exist and really turn technology into more of an enabler and get more people engaged, enabling more people to gain an education, or be productive in the workforce, in society, and ultimately just improve the lives of every person on the planet.
And there's so much I'm looking forward to talking with you today about, because I always try and get people thinking differently about technology and how it's impacting the world around us. And for example, if I was to just ask everybody listening right now, what does Intel mean to them? I suspect there will be quite a few people that will sing the 3-second jingle to me in unison. And I think the more serious will just say semiconductor chip manufacturer. But of course, there's so much more to Intel. So just to set the scene for our conversation today, can you share a little bit more about Intel's commitment to things like inclusivity and accessibility, and ultimately how you as a company approach the development of assistive technology that ensures it reaches that global audience?
Yeah, there are a lot of facets to this. I think that maybe the first bigger picture piece is that while Intel is a global scale semiconductor or processor manufacturer, we also are really responsible and have a major input into everything that goes into computer architecture in general. And architecture informs hardware design. So how we experience technology today, when you're sitting in front of your computer for your laptop, a lot of what goes on behind the scenes is either created by Intel, or we've had certainly a significant role in bringing that to reality. We've become much more focused over the years on the importance of that consumer or that user experience. And so thinking through how we produce, or the technology that we produce affects how people use that technology down the path. The critical insight from an accessibility perspective is that not everybody can engage with technology in the same way. So it's not a one-size-fits-all proposition. So as technology has evolved and we've moved from the basic interaction model where you have a keyboard and a mouse and a screen, we now today have so many more opportunities with the advancements in AI and the advancements in sensing capabilities that are becoming more powerful and lower cost. So you bring these things together and you can produce many more types of interaction models that are suitable for many more types of people and their ability levels. So that's kind of where we're thinking about this. And ultimately, it's just a matter of creating more opportunities for software developers to create more experiences for people.
And before you came on the podcast today, I was doing a little research on you guys, and the collaboration with 3DP for Me sounds quite intriguing and equally fascinating too. So can you explain a little bit more detail about how 3D printing is being utilized to increase access to assistive technologies, especially in developing countries?
Intel and Accenture and 3DP for Me are collaborating to try to bring hearing healthcare to areas of the world that had previously not had such access. And the beauty of the Intel Accenture relationship is that both companies share very similar values in this space, and we have deep expertise that we can tap into to try to drive these technologies further, faster. And with 3DP for Me, really the magic behind this is rooted in the passion of 3DP for Me's founder, Jason Zolomeyer. He is on a mission to bring hearing healthcare to the world, and particularly the world that has previously been underserved. And to do that, you need to have lower cost options, you need to have more efficiency in the process, and you need to be able to distribute more broadly. And so the goal is to create a single day solution where somebody can come in and have a hearing test. And if they have hearing loss, their inner ear can be scanned with a handheld scanner that produces a 3D point cloud. That file can then be transferred into a CAD file that can be sent to a 3D printer. We can then print molds for hearing aids that are custom fit for that person. And from there, we create the plastics, fit the electronics, and then you can fit the person's hearing aid all within a very short period of time and at a very low cost. And so you can imagine the idea being that you can now go to a community, say a village, a refugee camp, and you can set up shop for a couple of days, and you can go through 10s, 20 or higher numbers of people all at one time and address this problem at a larger scale and much more quickly. And so the pilot that we did in Jordan, we tested the end-to-end process with 50 children. And so really happy to report today that pilot has completed, and we were able to get 50 children through our end-to-end process, and now they're all able to hear with their new hearing aids. And it's fascinating that what that brings, I guess maybe the joy that brings to children and the empowerment both to them and their families is just incredible. Well, is to take the learnings from the pilot and continue to scale 500, 5,000. We need to work through that process and ensure that this type of this scalability of the solution can continue. In order to do that, Jason is going to continue to need to collaborate with others and to partner certainly around the world with folks that share this vision. So certainly, if this is interesting to people, to reach out to Jason and learn more about what he is doing.
I just love how you're not only simplifying aid to PC integration and why that is an important focus for Intel, but that incredibly powerful example of restoring hearing in children is just incredible. And as I said at the very beginning of the podcast, I always try to get people listening thinking about how technology can empower underserved communities and areas that we don't associate with technology. So just to expand on that example that you shared there, is there anything else you can share about the work being done to enable a direct connection between hearing aids and PC using Bluetooth LE audio, and how that enhancement also addresses that compatibility gap and ultimately empower people with hearing loss? It's incredible, isn't it?
It sure is. Yeah. And what's also incredible is just the sheer numbers of people around the world that are experiencing some degree of hearing loss. It's hundreds of millions of people. And this is not even including the folks that haven't been diagnosed, that are maybe experiencing hearing loss, but not pursuing solutions. And so the opportunity is significant because hearing loss really is creates a substantial deficit when it comes to communicating effectively. So solving that problem, or at least in trying to improve that situation for so many people, is a really, really important effort. And with the introduction of LE Audio, which officially launched this year, new computer systems will be able to seamlessly support wireless connectivity to hearing aids. And so the end state vision here is that when you have a computer, you are a hearing aid user, you can connect your hearing aids to that computer and have a effective listening experience. And then you can then seamlessly transfer your hearing aid to your mobile device or other devices without issue, and back and forth. And today, through the research that we've done, we've learned that often people are not connecting hearing aids to PCs because of the challenges that are involved. It's usually a number of different cables, it's not effective, and it's then difficult to transfer back and forth between your PC and your other devices. And we've shifted our work models due to the pandemic. There's so much virtual work and virtual communication happening that it really does seem to make much more sense that the need to support users in the context of communicating via their PC is critical. And so the key message here is that we want to enable the future where PC connectivity with hearing aids is just a seamless experience for everyone. And it's not really something that needs to be thought through. It just works. And doing that will enable just better communication for people, as will enable better communication for everyone.
So another thing that really stands out for me is Intel's personalized approach to audio assistance, because it feels both innovative and user-centric. And you've already provided a few powerful examples already today, but do you have any other examples of the project Intel is working on that are also personalizing audio assistance for individuals with specific needs and challenges related to certain frequencies? Because again, for many able hearing people listening to this podcast, they'll be blissfully unaware of this, but it's making such a difference. I'd love to try and bring it to life further with a few other stories if you have any.
If we think about the hearing experience in general, the idea that we can optimize hearing for every individual with a PC is compelling. There are a host of ways that we can use the processing on the computer to improve the audio experience for everyone, and do that in a way that is customized for that individual. And ultimately what we see here is that we can really bring the personal back into the PC and allow each computer to understand its user and provide only that optimal set of, in this case, audio experience that person needs or prefers. And so I think going forward, that's how I see technology evolving, is that every interaction is custom tailored to the individual's needs.
And before you hopped on the call with me today, I was also reading about the All Ears project, which recognises critical sounds and then offers visual notifications. Again, sounds like an incredibly exciting development. So can you expand on how that technology is being designed to enhance the user experience and maintain a seamless connection to their environment while they're using a PC? Again, incredibly cool, isn't it?
Yeah, this is exciting. So All Ears is the idea that if somebody who is maybe hard of hearing, who's deaf, or maybe is just wearing a pair of noise canceling earphones, we can use the processing on the PC and the microphones on the PC to really listen to the ambient sounds of the environment. And we can use AI to learn those sounds and identify specific sounds that are important. So you can still benefit from from the use of noise canceling headphones, but at the same time, if a doorbell rings or if an alarm sounds, or if maybe a spouse or a child is calling your name, it will pick up on that and provide a visual cue to that sound right in the center of the screen to get your attention. And that way you can divert your attention at that point. And there's so many things that we can do with this technology as it evolves that really makes it exciting. So it's going back to being customized to a specific user's needs and allowing, in this case, either enabling people that are potentially hard of hearing to interact or to immerse in their external environment more effectively, or if you're deliberately trying to disconnect from the external environment, maybe there's a lot of ambient noise that you don't want to be distracted by, you can do that without risking missing something that's critical.
And in the pursuit of inclusivity, collaboration is often considered the key and also the secret sauce to making meaningful change and bringing that to life. So if we look at Intel, how does Intel involve individuals with hearing loss and other disabilities in that early development process of these accessibility projects? And what role do their insights and their experiences play in helping shape these technological solutions?
Yeah, this is a big focus area for me. I am a strong believer in nothing about us without us. I believe that you can only develop the correct or useful solutions for people when you include them in the process. And in this case, certainly it is including people with disabilities throughout the process. And we do that in a number of ways. One is that we do have a global employee resource group for people with disabilities, and we can tap into that network of people to gain insights and to do employee interviews with early stage research ideas or just understanding what the barriers that they face in the workplace or otherwise, those kinds of things. And so it's nice that allowing and engaging employees to participate also provides a sense of community within the company and helps drive a culture that connects accessibility with innovation and the work that we do in general. So it doesn't matter what type of work or role that you have in a company, there are opportunities to participate in this type of research and perhaps contributing to the design process and going all the way through the end-to-end product pipeline. And beyond that, we're not just looking at Intel employees for those insights. We do more formal research with the disability community at large to also understand better the general or more the typical user experience, and again, where those barriers are. So we don't want to assume that we're creating technology and it's going to solve all of the world's problems. We have to understand where people are coming from to begin with and where they are experiencing access barriers, and then take the time to listen to those challenges and then work with those communities to working together to find the best solutions.
And you mentioned access barriers there, and I would imagine when it comes to things like accessibility efforts, there will be unique challenges in different regions around the world, and there's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter approach, for example. So with that in mind, how does Intel navigate some of these challenges and adapt your technology to cater to the specific needs of diverse communities on a global scale? Because again, I would imagine that's a much bigger challenge than many realize.
Yeah, I think it's always it's a back and forth proposition always. So basically we have, on one sense, we have this ability and this interest to scale solutions at a global level.
Yeah.
And I think the hearing aid connectivity solution is a good example of this. So instead of needing to buy additional components to create an optimal experience, it will just work with the PC that you buy. And that's an example of scaling at a global level. Now, when we think about disability, it's also very important to note that disability is such a unique construct in that you can have multiple people with the same diagnoses or the same disability category, and they experience that disability in vastly different ways for many different reasons. And so one thing I've noted throughout the years of sitting in on research interviews and talking with people with disabilities across the spectrum of disability is that everyone experiences it different. And it's amazing that I tend to learn something new every time. You think you understand somebody's experience, and then after a conversation, you understand it better. And so knowing that, the reality is that you are not going to solve all problems with a single product. And also, one company is not going to solve this on their own. So we have to be thinking about, when we think about this future of inclusive and accessible technology, it is an industry-wide discussion. It requires industry collaboration and flexible in their design, I think is the key. You need to be able to, as a user, you need to be able to configure a computer to meet your specific needs.
And if we were to look ahead, you've already achieved so much, but looking ahead, what are Intel's future plans and goals regarding things like accessibility and assistive technology? Are there any up-and-coming projects or initiatives that you're particularly excited about? I accept you probably can't share too much, but is there anything you can leave us with?
We have a couple of concrete examples, and then I maybe have a bit more of a vision for the future I can share as well. The concrete examples start with, we have a program in incubation at Intel called OmniBridge. And OmniBridge is a solution for sign language interpretation using AI. And this, over the years, there's been a number of research projects and attempts at doing this. And ultimately, this is a really hard problem to solve using AI. But the idea being that you can have a real-time sign language interpretation. And in this case, we're starting with American Sign Language, ASL, and being able to do ASL to English interpretation and then English to ASL, and do that in a manner that is real-time to facilitate those conversations between the deaf and hearing communities. And this is a really profound solution if it can be brought to bear. So I'm really excited to see where OmniBridge goes. I'm really excited to see in the next couple of years where OmniBridge can take this AI-based sign language interpretation and really try to enable those kind of communication use cases where it's just point of sale transactions or things where you're just needing to speak to somebody briefly to take care of business, and you don't need to have an interpreter with you at all times. I don't think any of these technologies ultimately replace the need for traditional sign language interpretation, but they certainly will augment it in really powerful ways, and I think empower the deaf community to more effectively be able to communicate with the hearing world. Another example is, so Intel has had a long history of working with Stephen Hawking in particular on technologies to help the mobility impaired community be able to more effectively interact with a computer, as well as folks experiencing ALS or motor neuron disease who are slowly losing their ability to use their muscles as well as their ability to speak. And this is obviously a really difficult situation, or it's a devastating diagnosis. And to think about how somebody experiencing these disease conditions progress through the disease as they lose their ability to communicate with their loved ones, but they're still able to think, and they're still able. So Intel has had a long history of working with. It's fairly well known that Intel had been working with Stephen Hawking for a number of years and provided the technology that allowed Stephen to continue to have a voice and to be able to communicate his brilliant ideas to the world. And we did that with a team of people who were continuously working to update and evolve the technology he was using to both operate his computer and to speak. And the brilliant thing about this is that not everybody in that situation gets to have a team of technical experts work with them as they progress and as their needs change. But given the circumstances, we were able to do this. And as a result, not only were we able to help Stephen Hawking continue to communicate his brilliant ideas throughout his life, we're now able to share all of that technology for free, open source, to anyone who's interested in it. And we also continue to evolve that technology as well. So in addition to being able to use various types of physical switches and buttons to interact with the PC, you can do far more. We've added new capabilities, and we've added new capabilities such as brain-computer interfaces. And so now you can actually, you can talk to this system with no hands and simply your thoughts. So using a brain-computer interface as the input. So the technology that we created for Stephen is called the Assistive Context Aware Toolkit, or ACAT. Today, we continue to evolve this technology to include different types of switches and different ability, and it isn't typically so challenging. So today we continue to evolve these technologies to include different switch interfaces, including brain-computer interfaces. So now somebody who is completely locked in, who has no ability to move a muscle, can interact with the computer and can communicate with the world. And to me, this is just another profound example of technology that is improving people's lives. So I think it'd be good to end with just maybe a vision for the future of technology. The power of generative AI is that it is going to enable a future where every computing experience is generated in real time. So we think about the difference. If we think about today, so today, everything we do on the computer is application based and we're basically it's destination based. So you're going to a website, you're using an application, and all of these things were designed beforehand, and hopefully designed in a way that makes them most useful to many people. Obviously, this is an area where, with accessibility, we start to see barriers where design falls short of meeting everybody's needs, and so that's kind of today's challenge. But if we move forward and we embrace a new model of computing where it is based on a prompt, the prompt itself can include the relevant context for the individual user in terms of what their needs and preferences are. So instead of going to a website to find information, you will ask the computer to provide that information. The information will be provided back to you in a way that you can consume. So one example would be if you are low vision and you need to see things with high contrast and maybe 150% size enlargement, that prompting will always include those parameters. So everything that you see on your computer will be something that is accessible to you. The potential for the future of generative AI models to dramatically change our relationship with technology is incredible. And so I'm looking forward to seeing new interaction models emerge where the computer is part of the conversation, where as we speak or as we are doing our work, the computer is proactively providing us with the information that we need, or the information that we request, or simply just useful context as we're speaking. And it will always be in a format that is consumable by each individual based on their needs and preferences. And to me, this is the future of computing.
And again, such an inspiring vision and so many powerful real-life stories there that you brought to life around the differences that Intel Tech is making at the moment and your work. And of course, you've had a fantastic career, and I love how you're leveraging technology to transform people's lives. You've given some great examples of that today. But before I let you go, I want to try and take you personally back in time to where all this started for you, because none of us are able to achieve any degree of success without a little help along the way. So is there a particular person that might have seen something in you or lit the spark in you, or just someone that you're grateful towards who helped put you on this path and get where you are today?
I'd actually like to first start by acknowledging for the audience here that may not be that may not be well versed in the business of accessibility. There are people that are working tirelessly to create a future that is more accessible to everyone. And it's fantastic that we're able to work together, that we're able to share our successes and cheer each other on as well. And so accessibility is alive and well in the tech industry, and it's exciting to see where this is going. And I think it's just getting started. So that in itself is inspiring to me. But when I think about true inspiration, I think it's not about what we're doing or even how we're doing it. It's about why we're doing it. And the answer to why we're doing it is to make sure that everyone has an equal opportunity to participate and to be successful and to thrive in the world. And probably my biggest inspiration for this is Judy Heumann. So Judy passed away this past March, but she was a pioneer in disability rights in the United States and the world. And she spent her life dedicated to removing barriers for people with disabilities and ensuring that the disability community shares the same human rights as everyone else. And fundamentally, she has helped shift our collective understanding of accessibility and the necessity of access for everyone in critical ways. And so when I think about how we've evolved and the fact that I'm able to have the job that I have today and being able to be in a position where I can influence, I have the ability to make a difference at a global scale, I have to think back to Judy and her peers that were so instrumental in driving disability rights and really improving the lives of people with disabilities around the world.
Wow, and I think that's an incredibly powerful moment to end on. But before I let you go, obviously Intel is a huge website. We've covered a lot today. So if anyone wanting to learn more about Intel, their involvement with accessibility and some of the projects we've talked about today, where's the best place for anyone listening to check out and maybe even contact your team if they've got any questions about our conversation today?
Sure, yeah. So I think that the simplest way is to just do a search for accessibility at Intel, and you will see our main accessibility page. You can also reach us directly at accessibility@intel.com via email. Or I think I'd love to connect with folks on LinkedIn. And I am just Darryl, Daryl _Adams at LinkedIn or You can search for, you can find me on LinkedIn as well.
Well, I'll add links to that so people can find you nice and easily. Again, so many big talking points there. From that simplifying aid to PC integration, the personalized approach to audio assistance, increasing global access to assistive technology. That's what it's all about. And for me, it wasn't even about the technology. You brought it to life with some real life and powerful stories there, and the difference that technology is making in changing people's lives. Absolutely phenomenal. But more than anything, just thank you, Darryl, for taking the time and share that with me today. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. It was my pleasure.
Wow, what an insightful conversation we had there. I can't thank Darryl enough for coming on and talking about the work with Intel. And I think his passion for making technology accessible and inclusive is truly inspiring. And it really come across in today's conversation how passionate he is about that. And everything from Intel's successful pilot project, where 50 children now have custom-fit hearing aids, to their innovative initiatives like All Ears and the OmniBridge program, the scope of accessibility is indeed expanding. And I think the potential of AI-based sign language interpretation and the transformative power of technology and communication is incredibly thought-provoking. And Intel's continuing commitment to accessibility and inclusivity, for me, stands as a bit of a beacon for others in the industry to follow. And I hope it got you all thinking differently about Intel, about the differences we can make with technology and so much more. So thank you so much to Darryl for bringing this topic to life today. And I think it's a big reminder that technology at its best should be accessible and inclusive, breaking down barriers rather than building them. But over to you, please. Anything we talked about today, if it resonated with you and maybe it's impacted you personally too, email me now, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, just at Neil C. Hughes. Easiest guy in the world to find. I'd love to carry on this conversation with any single person listening, so please get in touch. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, share and comment on this podcast. Join the conversation, please. Let's continue to celebrate the role in technology and how it's making our world more accessible. But that's it for today, so just a big thank you for listening as always, and until next time, don't be a stranger.